This is a Candy Factory Mini. So you want to write a book? With Suzette Mullen.
Hello, I'm Suzette Mullen, book coach, nonfiction writer, and your host. Welcome to So You Want to Write a Book. My goal is to break down the challenging process of finding and getting clear on your story so you can finally take action on the book that's been rattling around your head or tugging at your heart. Even if you never plan to write a book, I'll share tips that'll help you become a more informed reader and a more effective writer in your work life. Questions, email them to me at hello@yourstoryfinder.com or feel free to comment in the post and I'll get back to you. So go ahead and grab a pen and paper or your phone or laptop to jot down some notes. And let's get started. Once upon a time, I was a high school senior applying to college. Well, that was a long time ago, well before the craziness of today's college admissions. I wrote my application by hand. No one reviewed my essays. I applied to 4 schools, 1 reach, 1 likely, and 2 safeties. That was it. 30 years later, when the college application process was much more competitive and complex, I helped my 2 sons, and then I began to help other students with their admissions essays. Writing a 500 to 650 word personal statement is like writing a mini memoir. You have to get very clear on your main point. What have you come to the page to say? And then everything in that short essay has to relate to the main point, just like in a book-length memoir. And you know what else books in college have in common? Navigating your publication path is eerily similar to applying to college. So the first things first, you have to get clear on your goals. Now, before a 17-year-old makes their college list, ideally they're identifying their goals, what they're looking for in a college and why, not just picking colleges because they're prestigious. Writers should do a similar inventory, which is part of the work we do together in my Pick Your Path package, where I help writers make decisions about which publication path to pursue. What do they hope a book will do for them? What's important? Control over the process, speed of getting their book out into the world, the prestige of traditional publication, reaching a broad national audience, or having a book to offer to clients. Once a writer is clear on their goals, the first choice path becomes more clear. Now, for writers who choose hybrid or self or indie publishing, the comparison with college admissions is largely over. They are largely in control. They're purchasing services, so they're not the ones that are trying to get picked. So let's look at writers who attempt a traditional publication path, which first requires securing an agent. So you have to research your options. Now, if you're a student, you have to decide, maybe you're going to decide you're going to be a data scientist. You want to attend a college with a strong statistics program that has a strong record of students being employed as data scientists, and a school you can afford that offers strong financial aid. So that student will plug in those criteria and come up with a list of schools. Similarly, you, the writer, will plug in criteria to create your agent list. Do you want an agent who's very experienced but may not have the time to give you a lot of personal attention? Or one who's newer and hungrier? Do you have a preference for an agent of one gender? Do you want someone who's very hands-on, etc.? Now, you may be wondering how you even create this list. It's a science, it's an art, not a science. Start with your comp titles. The books that are similar to yours, the books that your ideal readers are reading. You can typically find the agents for those books in the acknowledgments section, or buy a subscription to Publishers Marketplace where you can research agents. Manuscript Wishlist is another great online resource for your research. So the next thing you have to do is evaluate your odds. If you're a student, hey, over 40,000 students applied to Harvard to be in their last class, and less than 5% were accepted. And they report the statistics of their accepted students, GPAs, standardized tests. And if you're not fitting into that pool, your odds of getting into Harvard are astronomical. But as anyone knows who swum in that highly competitive waters of college admissions, you need more than just stellar grades and SATs. You need some kind of hook to elevate your application. I wish I had better news, but the odds for getting an agent aren't much better. In fact, they may even be worse. I recently heard an agent say that she requests fulls, that's agent speak for asking for a writer's entire manuscript, for between 2 and 3% of the queries that she receives. So what does it take to get an agent? In other words, what are agents looking for? It's actually pretty simple. They're looking for great writing or great content that have a ready-made audience that's willing to pay for that writing or content. So get real with yourself. How does your book stack up? The next thing you need to do, and you can do, is you can actually improve your odds. So let's get back to that student. She can't change what happened in the past, that C she got in 10th grade French, but she can improve her application going forward. She can study harder, improve her grades. She can look for internship or work opportunities that connect with her passion for data science. And you, writer, can improve your odds of getting an agent. That formula is right there. Remember, great writing or great content, ideally both. Don't pitch agents until you feel confident you've got the strongest manuscript or book proposal you are capable of writing. Make sure you're very clear on your message and who your audience is, and make sure you can communicate that clearly in your query. Build and grow your platform. Not only does the agent want to know who your audience is, but they want to know how you will reach them. Now, I've talked about author platform in previous episodes, and I'll dig into it more in the future. But let's just say a few things right now. Author platform does not equal social media followers. It can include a social media presence, but it's much more than that. Part of the work I do with writers is helping them identify how they can best connect with readers in a way that feels organic and natural to them. Some writers will connect as conference speakers or podcast guests or growing their email lists and with a newsletter. The point is you need to start building your connections with your audience now. Growing your platform will improve your odds in securing agent representation. Now, if you're a memoir writer, another way to improve your odds is to draft a book proposal in addition to your manuscript. While a proposal is not absolutely necessary for pitching memoir, it's a way you can elevate your pitch package that show agents you've done your homework, that you understand your audience, and you have a plan to reach them. One of the biggest mistakes writers make is querying before they're ready. I get it, I've done it myself, but remember, you only get one bite at the apple with those agents. Give it your best shot. Okay, I know I'm mixing my metaphors, but I think you get what I mean. So the next thing you need to do is to create a balanced list. So again, back to those students, one of the things that would kill me was when I worked with those students is when their list was so top heavy. They had tons of reaches with very few likelies and sometimes no safeties. I worried about how they would handle so much rejection. I worried about what would happen if they didn't actually get in anywhere. I get the desire to reach for the stars. I mean, it's kind of like playing the lottery. Someone has to win, right? But a student and a student's parents need to balance that desire with realistic options and also weigh the very real cost of piling on rejections. So it's the same for writers. When you're creating your agent list, balance the reach for the star agents with newer agents who may just be building their list, who would fall more into that likely or possible category. I wish I could say there were safety agents, but I'm afraid there aren't. And if you have personal contacts with agents, you met someone at a conference or you've been referred by another writer, be sure to add those names to your list. They may in fact be your hook. Another thing to balance your sanity is the response times of agents. Some of them won't respond at all if they're not interested. Some will respond quickly, some not so much. Most of them will list their policies on their websites, and you can also find that information on Query Tracker. So having a balanced list will help improve that stress. The next step is you need a backup plan. Now, for college, your backup plan is having safety schools on your list in the first place. If you don't have any safety schools, well, there's always still colleges that have space available after the traditional application period is over. And there's always the option of a gap year and applying again. Now, for a writer, think about your backup plan in advance so you're not devastated if your agent search doesn't work out. This doesn't mean you have to have it all figured out in advance, but at least consider your options. Will you put your manuscript in a drawer or work on a new project? Will you step back and revise your manuscript and query again? Will you pursue hybrid or self-publishing? If yes, which hybrid publishers or self-publishing options will you pursue? And finally, trust the process. Now, with virtually every student I worked with in that college application process, things ended up working out, even when they didn't get into one of their top schools. And in the few cases there wasn't a good fit, students transferred to schools that were a better fit for their next year. The same is true for you, my fellow writers. Trust the process. I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you. I've been in the query trenches now. I pulled out my manuscript and proposal again. I don't know what's going to happen, how it's all going to work out, but I do believe my memoir will be published somehow. I'm working on my backup plans. My book will get into the hands of the readers who need it. That is something I have some control over with all the options in today's publishing landscape, which is something I'm grateful for. So here are the key takeaways I want to leave you with. Take the time to get clear on the goals for your book. Do this first and your preferred publication path will follow. Evaluate your odds of success and do what you can do to improve them. Be clear on your point and message. Identify your audience, grow your platform to reach them. Draft a tightly focused book proposal. Create a balanced list of agents. Have a backup plan if you don't get any bites. And at the end of the day, trust the process. Keep the big picture in mind. You want to get your book in the hands of readers. And today there are many options beyond the traditional publication path that are within your control. So I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I'd love to continue it with you. I invite you to go to my website, yourstoryfinder.com, sign up for my newsletter, which is chock full of tips to help writers get started, get unstuck, and get their stories out into the world. And go to the Work with Suzette page to learn more about my book coaching services, including my Pick Your Path package, where I help writers navigate their publication options. Now, next time we're going to tackle a big subject, writing about trauma. I'll be talking with business therapist and author Nicole Lewis-Keeper, who trains professionals to be trauma conscious. If you're writing a memoir or your writing is bringing up hard stuff from your past, you won't want to miss this one. In the meantime, happy reading and writing. So You Want to Write a Book is part of the Candy Factory mini-series and is a proud member of the Candy Factory Collective.
Over the past 8 years, Suzette has been on a mission to help writers clear the fog and cut through the overwhelm so they can move their ideas out of their head and onto the page.
Visit yourstoryfinder.com to learn more about Suzette as well as her writing coach offerings.
So You Want to Write a Book is produced by the Candy Factory Collective for So Good Lancaster, another great project of the Candy Factory Co-working in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The show is produced by Ann Kirby with production support by Anna Tran and Jason Mundock. Administrative support by Ariana Henderson. Find out what makes Lancaster so good at SoGoodLancaster.com. Candy Factory.
Collective.